Hi, welcome to Ask the Lawyer. I'm your host of Ask the Lawyer, Patty Grabeau. As our population ages, new concerns and questions arise. Questions like, how do I find and pay for the right care for myself or a loved one? How do I or a loved one keep from going into a nursing home? If a nursing home stay cannot be avoided, who will take care of my spouse? And who will be there to have enough money that we can live on? Will we have to spend our entire life savings on nursing home care? With us today is Texas attorney Richard M. Barron, who practices elder law and life care planning. Attorney Barron will talk about ways to help you keep your peace of mind and show you how to have a secure future by legally protecting your home, life savings, and income, and providing for your care if and when needed. This and more when we come back on Ask the Lawyer.
Welcome to this edition of Ask the Lawyer. Ask the Lawyer is informative and exciting. Ask the Lawyer interviews authors, speakers, and entrepreneurs in all areas of business, so you become a much more informed consumer.
Welcome back. I'm your host of Ask the Lawyer, Patty Grabeau. As our population ages, we face new challenges in how to provide, plan, and take care of our loved ones and ourselves. Joining us today is elder law attorney Richard M. Barron, who founded the Barron Law Firm in 1991. Richard received his Bachelor's of Business Administration from Southern Methodist University and his law degree from Texas Tech University School of Law. Richard is a member of the State Bar of Texas and has been licensed to practice law in Texas since 1981. He's a member of the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys, the Life Care Planning Law Firms Association, and is accredited attorney with the Department of Veterans Affairs. He provides community educational workshops on estate and life care planning, Medicaid and veterans benefits, and qualifications, assets planning, and elder care needs. Richard works extensively in Medicaid, veterans, and life care planning to assist families across Texas who need help in obtaining those benefits for the care of their loved ones. He is a veteran of Vietnam. While in the Army, he served as warrant officer and a Cobra helicopter aircraft commander. During his service, Richard received 28 air medals: the Distinguished Flying Cross, the Air Medal for Valor, the Bronze Star, a Purple Heart, and the Vietnamese Cross for Gallantry. He also holds a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo. It's an absolute honor to have you here on the show today.
Well, thank you, Patty. It's a pleasure to be here.
Quite a man, I'll tell you. It is obvious from your heroic background that you bring tremendous integrity to your work. What led you into this growing area of law, that of both elder care and life care planning?
Well, Patty, over the years, I have worked with numerous families, helping them with their estate planning needs. And what that primarily consisted of is preparing their will and possibly a power of attorney. And what we were doing is we were asking or answering the question, what happens to my property when I die? I realized there was a more significant question that needed to be asked, and that is the new question. And that question is, what happens to my property if I don't die, but I live and become either mentally or physically incapacitated and can no longer handle my own affairs and need long-term care? Now, what happens to my property, my life savings, my home, and especially my spouse if I'm not able to do so myself? That second question, what happens if I live, that is what drew me into life care planning and elder law.
Very commendable. It seems we all, whether we're young or we're old, still should be concerned about having a plan for a future. We really need one. And you speak of life care planning, the ultimate peace of mind. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Sure can. You know, over our lifetime, we develop a life savings, our retirement income. And what we are doing is we're putting together our nest egg in hopes that when we do get to our retirement years, that we will not outlive that nest egg.
Correct.
However, what they don't consider is the single biggest threat to that financial security, that nest egg, is the need and the cost of long-term care. Unfortunately, most of us just simply do not plan for incapacity. They just do not. And life care planning takes into account some of these issues. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
My father-in-law, who's in his 80s, but on his 80th birthday, bought himself a Harley motorcycle.
Oh,
However, here recently, he acquired what they call Meniere's disease. Okay, and what this did was, it was an inner ear affection, okay, and it caused him to be dizzy. He had vertigo. It put my mother-in-law in a caregiving role, and she's in her 70s with macular degeneration, which is a vision problem.
Of course.
Have 3 adult daughters, all of which are in different parts of the country. And let me tell you, they went into panic mode trying to figure out how and what they could do to help this situation. Now, fortunately, one of them was able to go and stay with them and help with these caregiving needs. And as it be known, some prayers were answered. He is doing much better now. The only casualty of this incident was he decided to sell that pride and joy of his, that Harley motorcycle. But what it was a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call because this was the first time they have had to face the maze of government regulations and healthcare alternatives, and that was a sudden and really unplanned for caregiving experience that, even as we talk today, people are experiencing that on a daily basis, and they really don't know where to turn. What life care planning does is it provides for those legal, financial, and healthcare needs that they may need in advance of need instead of waiting for a crisis to take place.
Great story. Great understanding. We very rarely are thinking of the future as much as we should, and we should be come to people such as yourself and get the kind of care that we need. Let's talk about elder law a little bit more. How does a firm that practices life care planning help people prepare for the possible needs?
Well, you know, Patty, what we all want, at least as we age, is to remain in our home.
Yes.
Okay? We want to be independent, be able to handle our own financial and health care needs as and when they occur. What life care planning does is it addresses the possible needs that they hadn't thought about. Those needs might be current or maybe in the future. So what we're doing is we're looking at those legal issues, those healthcare issues, and those financial issues that they are going to run into as this process goes on. Okay? And what we have a staff, an experienced staff. In fact, I have a licensed social worker working with me to help attend to the healthcare needs, because she has great familiarity with the healthcare alternatives that are out there and can help with the development of this life care plan as it relates to their healthcare needs. And then we hope to also organize their finances so that they have this plan in place if it's needed. Hopefully it never is.
It really sounds like you have got quite a team approach for the life care planning. How are you different from the traditional estate planning firms?
Well, again, under traditional estate planning, you're answering that old question: what happens to my assets if I die? A life care planning elder law firm not only answers that question, but that more significant question: what happens to my assets if I live, don't die, become mentally or physically incapacitated, and can no longer handle my own affairs? Now, what happens to my home, my life savings, that nest egg that they've acquired over the years? And most importantly, what happens to my spouse if I need long-term care? The life care plan helps to address that. We help them through that maze of government regulations, all of the alternatives they have with regard to their health care itself, and making sure they have the money available to pay for it.
Now, so if aging at home is what people really want, how can life care planning help prepare for both only what they may need and what they want?
Well, I almost term it as magical thinking on behalf of a lot of people out there. And what that amounts to is they think if they plan, then it's going to happen. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, when in fact, whether or not they plan or do not plan, that does not create the crisis. the crisis is going to be created by something else other than that. So what we're doing is encouraging them to plan early for the event that this might take place sometime in the future.
Well, I'll tell you, very interesting stuff. How can someone get in touch with you?
Well, Patty, they can always call our office at 1-800-939-9093. Our website is texaselderlawadtorney.com. I have two offices. I have a Texoma office. It's located at 209 East Main Street, Whitesboro, Texas. And I also have a Metroplex office, which is by appointment only, but it is located at 1400 Preston Road, Plano, Texas. These are for their convenience and can contact us there at any time. They can also email me.
That's great. We'll continue with our discussion with Richard Barron when we do come back. Welcome back. Joining us today is Richard Barron, elder law attorney, whose firm assists people in giving them the ultimate peace of mind by working with them to create a life care plan. There's so much to consider when dealing with a chronic illness, not just the illness itself, but care, legal needs, finances, and much more. How does your firm work as advocates for your clients?
You know, Patty, as we age, we know for a fact that some of us will need long-term care of some sort.
Right.
We just don't know who it might be. We don't have that crystal ball. And so what I have on my staff is a care coordinator who is a licensed social worker with years of experience in dealing in the healthcare industry and knowing what is available out there for our clients. She participates with me in the creation of these life care plans. She actually goes out and makes assessments with the clients in their home. Now, what does she provide? She provides guidance for them to get through the maze of their healthcare alternatives. She will help them understand which home health agency that they need to use, or a care plan. What is it and what needs to be in it? But most of all, she educates them. She educates them to be advocates either on their own behalf or on that of a loved one.
That is wonderful to have that care provider within your office for clients.
Yes, it is.
It really provides
It's a blessing
balance.
to a lot of our clients.
It really is. And what about the adult children? Do you also work with them? And could you touch on that a little bit?
Sure.
Please?
The adult children have a little bit different problem. They can watch mom and dad and see that they might need some additional help or care, whether or not they're at the home or an assisted living or wherever. But their dilemma is, how do I step in and when do I step in? They're dealing with their parents. And the other question they have is, what am I supposed to do when it becomes unsafe to drive? These are dilemmas that adult children have when dealing with their aging parents. What they do want is they want the best quality of care for them and the best quality of life. They're not as concerned with their financial legacy. What they're concerned with is making sure mom and dad get the appropriate care that they need in the place that they need it.
That's very true. I mean, we and the boomers, we're all being faced with this right now.
Yes, we are.
And we really just want them to be okay and be happy.
That's right.
It's very true.
That's what we find.
Yeah. Now, when should we begin putting together a life care plan?
Obviously, you need to begin as soon as possible.
Yesterday.
That's the obvious
Yesterday.
answer, but usually what happens is some event takes place, whether it be a diagnosis of, say, dementia or Alzheimer's. It might be a fall. It might be some other debilitating circumstance of which they recognize that there will be a need to do some additional planning. That's when we come in, because they have their certain wants and needs. But what we're trying to do is provide them with answers to their other questions that they may not even know that they have, or issues that they may not have thought about. And that's when we come into play with regards to our life care plan.
And what's the process of a life care plan?
Patty, in our office, it starts off with what we call triage. And basically, triage is just a gathering of information. When people call into the office, we will begin finding out more about them. We want to start up a conversation with them. First of all, we want to know who's calling and whether or not they're calling on their behalf, And in many instances, they're calling on behalf of someone else. So we're wanting to find out what their circumstances are, because we want to know right up front, is what they have, is their problem something that we can help them with? And if it is, we'll go on. We're going to want to know what kind of documents they have, what their assets are like, what their income. And once we find that we can be of some assistance to them, then we will schedule an appointment. And that appointment will last from 1 to 2 hours.
Wow.
And we will get into more depth with regards to all of these issues. And it's not just that we're trying to determine what we can do for them. What we're wanting them to tell us is how we can help them. What are their needs? We don't want to just presume that we have the answer to the problem before we know the full problem and what they're wanting us to help them with. We'll also raise issues and questions at that time that they may not have thought about. For instance, I had a daughter and her mother come in the other day. They came in just to check their legal documents to see whether or not they were adequate enough. Well, Mom has Parkinson's, and she had just taken a fall at home and realized that she really shouldn't stay there by herself any longer. And the daughter agreed to take her in and be her caretaker. And that's what happened. But in our discussion with regards to her documents, I asked the daughter, I said, well, what would happen if something happened to you and you could no longer take care of your mom? Well, I could tell by the expression on her face, that was the first time she thought of that question. And it became, well, I know my husband's not going to take care of her, and my brothers, they're going to put her in a nursing home as soon as possible. So it started a discussion not only within her mind, but she was going to go back and talk to this with her brothers, as well as find out what her mother's wishes are. Those are the kinds of things we bring up in this initial meeting. Once we find out that we can help them, then we're going to put together a plan right then and there. And we're going to present that plan to them, dealing with their legal issues, their health issues, and their financial issues. We will quote them a price or what their investment is at that point in time, and it will be a flat fee. It will be a one-time investment on their part. If they accept it, we'll begin right away. If they don't, they're under no obligation whatsoever. Everything up to that point in time is literally at no cost to them.
That's wonderful. I mean, you don't impose your will on anyone. You take in the whole scope, you look at the whole roadmap of the family, and then make the plan.
Yeah, we want to interact with them, not only the potential clients, but their family as well. We want everybody involved in that process.
Now let's talk about the actual care. Who determines what care is needed, and who provides the care?
Okay, this gets back to my care coordinator, who is that licensed social worker. What takes place in our life care plan, as I said, she will go out and do an assessment. She'll sit down with the family to discuss their current and potential needs in the future, find out where they're living, what modifications may need to be made. She will discuss with them the alternatives they have with regard to caregiving or the care providers, discuss the pros and cons, and then the family will be given a list of potential providers, and they will make the contact, screen those providers, and hire them, and they will be the ones that will actually be providing their care.
Okay, and then what about the financial and health care decisions that are made? What sort of tools do you have and do you use to build a plan for your individual clients?
That kind of gets into my area. That's the legal documents, okay, that we look at and review and probably prepare, because what we find is most people don't have any legal documents in place. If they do, they were done years ago when they were much younger and just don't address the needs that they have today, or they try to get them over the internet, and again, they're just not going to be adequate to help them through a potential problem when they lose their capacity, when they become unable to handle their financial affairs. So we'll do these documents. Part of this is using what they call revocable living trusts. Now, most people have heard about them, but what I have...
But they don't know what it is.
That's right. They don't know what it is. They don't know how they work. And so I have analogized to them that a trust is like a suitcase, okay, that they own. They create it. And if they put something into the suitcase or put something into the trust, then that trust will control it. What we find more often is they fail to transfer property into the trust or put it into that suitcase. Now, once it's in there, the trust will control it. They're the owners of the trust, so they can direct how and when it's going to be paid out, and they still maintain that independence. They still get to maintain their control over their monies, over their assets, which all of us want. And so to carry this a little bit further is that they're the trustee. They're the ones carrying this trust around, that suitcase around. But if they choose not to, or if they become unable to, then they can pass that trustee off to one of their well-trusted children, another relative, or some friend. And now they will be able to handle their affairs for them in a much more easier manner.
Peace of mind. It's a wonderful thing.
Peace of mind.
How can people get in touch with you?
Again, Patty, they can always call our 800 number. It's toll-free, 800-939-9093. They can go to our website, texaselderlaw.com. They can also visit us at either of our offices, 209 East Main Street, Wattsboro, Texas. And then we have an office by appointment only at 1400 Preston Road, Plano, Texas. We have an abundance of free information that they can request from us.
That's great.
Dealing with life care planning, Alzheimer's, Medicaid, veterans benefits. We do this as a community service, as an educational service, not only for the general public, but for healthcare providers as well.
That's a wonderful, wonderful service you're providing. Stay tuned. Ask the Lawyer. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're having a most informative and intriguing conversation regarding life care plans with attorney Richard Barron. What are your goals for your clients?
Primarily their goals, and that is, with a life care plan, we want them to remain independent, be able to handle their own financial or health care decisions, to protect their assets, okay, and to protect the spouse should one or the other need to go into long-term care. Those are the primary goals. If they need to transition to another form of living arrangements, we help them with that as well.
That's great. And what is included in a plan?
Well, basically, what we include in a life care plan is obviously all the legal documents. Now, let me point out that our life care plans usually go on for about 1 year.
Really?
Yes. And so they have complete availability to our law firm and our care coordinator, because that's the second service that we offer. And a lot of people find that that is a very valuable service to try to navigate those alternatives as far as healthcare plans. We also provide not only planning, but we also will file on their behalf a veteran's application for benefits if they are entitled to that. And then lastly, we'll do their Medicaid planning and application. That usually comes into play if we have someone in a nursing home or is about to go into a nursing home.
And the Medicaid planning can be very difficult.
Yes,
very difficult to fill out, I understand.
Yes.
So
that is true.
That's sensational. Now, tell me a little bit more about the veterans and Medicaid benefits available to help pay for the care needed.
Sure. The veterans benefits are for our wartime veterans. And what happens is that if they fulfill the requirements of that benefit, they will be entitled from the Veterans Administration monies on a monthly basis to help cover some of their medical expenses. Now, granted, not all seniors are veterans,
right,
but what we have found is to ask the question, are you a veteran, or are you a spouse of a veteran, or do you know somebody who is and could use some help in paying for their medical expenses?
That's wonderful that it's available.
Yes, it is, and it does a tremendous job in helping provide for that additional monies they need. Now, if they want to know if they qualify, give us a call. We have the Consumer's Guide to Veterans Benefits, and it's a free publication. They can go to our website and ask for it there as well. It'll give them a little bit more information as to whether or not they qualify. Now, Medicaid.
Right.
Medicaid is something that is used to pay for long-term nursing home care. And what we find in our practice is that people will come in with the misunderstanding that they have to give away all of their property, give away the house, wait 5 years before they can apply for Medicaid. That's simply not true. We normally will get someone qualified for Medicaid at or just before they're going into a nursing home. And by doing so, by getting them qualified sooner rather than later, will save them an enormous amount of money, because the average cost of nursing home care now in the state of Texas is $4,000 a month.
Wow.
Or $48,000 a year. So that can be a substantial savings to get qualified earlier, and that money that would have been spent on care can go to the spouse that may still be at home, or to at least increase the quality of care for that person that's in the nursing home. And by the way, Patty, when we're dealing with a life care plan,
right,
in Medicaid and VA application, we take care of all of that for them. We deal with the government agencies, with the caseworkers. They don't have to answer their questions or fill out the forms. We'll do all of that for them. All
wow,
they need to do is provide us with the supporting documentation.
Well, it sounds like it's so complicated that mistakes could be made, so people are far better off to come see someone such as yourself.
Very easily, that is true, especially in the veterans arena and as well in Medicaid.
Because I would think most people don't even know the veterans options are even available.
You're right, that is true.
Which is a shame, because our veterans, we should give them everything we can.
That's right.
They've served our country. And what about long-term care options?
Basically when we come into our life care plan, there are many options available out there with regards to long-term care, whether it be done in the home, in an assisted living, or nursing home. But again, our care coordinator, that licensed social worker, will help them through that process to find out what is the best available care for them, what's the right place to have that care, and what type of care services will be best for them.
Well, I cannot tell you how much I have enjoyed having you on the show today. It is obvious that you put so much thought into your plans for people. I mean, people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. And they're in good hands with their life care plans with your law firm. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Patty. It was a pleasure to be here.
All right. And that's it for this edition of Ask the Lawyer. I'm Patty Grabeau. We thank you for choosing us as your go-to resource for information concerning only the most innovative topics today. This is an advertisement.